I don't know how internalized all the things that I experience and the ways that I feel are, and if anyone else is actually responding to that or if it's all in my head. I feel like I'm quite high masking, so I can hide a lot of the stuff, but I feel very, very self-conscious about the way that I present and the way I am around certain people. Another thing that's always on my mind is like stimming. Like everything that I do, like often like making sounds or like expressions in my face, or often like playing or like with my hands or like leg bouncing, anything like that. The part where you mentioned a world built for neurotypical people, I think that aspect is there. It's the like status quo of like being neurotypical and like societal norms as well, which are all connected with other like aspects.
My challenges are social communication. I think I'm probably succeeding at the minute right now. Reading concentration, motion balance, emotions, and sensory needs. I've been hiding socially unacceptable behaviours such as scripting, stimming, fidgeting.
If you can imagine someone who's getting overwhelmed maybe 3 times as much as the normal person every day, it's the idea of a full-time job is pretty bad, because it's like you're constantly getting overstimulated by sounds and smells and all this. Being around people, even without speaking to them, can be quite exhausting, because it's a lot of, well, there's a lot of masking, which takes up a lot of energy as well, but it's also just being in proximity.
I feel like the social skills is a really big factor for any SEN students. I found in my experience it hinders them in so many ways.
We have a range of children, one of whom is the child I've just spent the first half an hour of my day with, whose needs are very difficult to cater for in a mainstream school. And we're very conscious here of making our spaces communication friendly. We're always constantly thinking about lighting, but even then, for that particular child, the space itself and the volume of children and the ratio of adults to children, those things don't align with what that child needs.
But every child is really different within that spectrum, so it takes us a while to work out how to best to regulate them.
Like with a lot of autistic people I know, we also get motion sick quite easy, because they're saying now there's supposedly like some histamine issue related with being autistic, and it like affects your inner ear and like all that stuff. So I get motion sick really easy. It reminded me, because you were talking about the VR, and like maybe if they were to visit a new place or try out a scenario in VR first, we would always, if I was going to a new place, even if she was accompanying me, we would go on Google Maps on Street View and be able to see what the building looked like, what are the surrounding things, is there a shop over there, like in case I get lost, or because I have really, really poor sense of direction, so I need like landmarks to help me like navigate. Might also just be a bit scary, but I guess it would depend on the support needs of the person. I would say though that a lot of the sort of simulatory type things for neurodivergent people to use to figure out neurotypical people to see what it's like to be neurodivergent. I always think it's kind of nice, but it's kind of ends up sometimes being a bit gimmicky, and obviously every single autistic person is so different. I have a friend, anonymous. He, for example, has like completely opposite sensory issues to me. I'm like very picky about food. I'm really picky about textures, everything. He loves all food. He will eat anything you put in front of him, and then he'll eat like really strong tasting food, whereas I can't deal with that. And so, yeah, I worry sometimes, because I've seen some simulations of like, this is what it's like for your child to be in the shopping centre, and it's like, yeah, kind of, but like, I always think it's better just to ask people what their experience is like, and then just go off that and believe them the first time they say it, rather than like worrying about proving it, if that makes sense. You can't capture brain fog, you can't capture, things that like meltdowns or anything like. You can only capture sort of how other people would be reacting to it, and you can't capture the fact that you don't know what the people around you are feeling.
In my assemblies, I have videos that I use where it's an animation of how a child might perceive walking down the street if they were neurotypical, and then the same animation, but kind of modified to make it feel like this might be what a neurodiverse child might sense. I suppose it would support similarly, but in a very kind of real sense that it's happening for them. Because I suppose it's okay to relate to watching an animation of what it might feel like, but actually to experience it and the sounds and everything yourself. You can see how that might support, might help.
Or if you did have some sort of technology that could film really good practice as well, I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
How powerful would that
Yeah.
be? Having that dialogue, it would have to be a professional dialogue, but in terms of having that technology, that's a step further than what I'm trying to describe. That would really help, particularly with new people.
It's a really interesting thought, but I think like how you would actually execute that would be kind of difficult. Like you said, like a headset, like going over the experience of an autistic person, because every experience is so nuanced. I think I feel like it's not to be dramatic, but it's a bit more sinister, and like in the way that it presents itself, in the way I am. Like, I don't think it's very easy at all to describe it to somebody properly. Like, I've been describing it to you this whole time, but I still couldn't put it into one sentence. So like putting that into an experience is extremely difficult with autism. It's really interesting, but I just don't think I don't want to say feasible. Because nothing's like unfeasible. I just think it'll be very difficult. That's a really interesting point about you could probably translate overstimulation quite well, actually. Surround people by different stimuli and be like, how does this make you feel?
Because I think everyone learns in different ways. Some people learn by seeing, by hearing, by experiencing, and I think some people struggle to empathize for whatever reason that might be, and I think if we put the audience in the shoes or the eyes of the autistic person, then that will help them more to understand what it's like, or empathize with what it's like to be autistic in society, and therefore then you can implement change in society. So I think the first sort of thing is awareness and understanding, education, with the technology that would help people to understand more.
Warming for them. So it would be nice to kind of like simulate that experience. And just in general in life, I think even a lot of parents, they're kind of scared to let that person stay home or to let that person travel far, or because they're just worried about the actual negative consequences that can take place. But if they could kind of simulate that experience, I think that would help a lot of parents and the students, actually. I mean, that'd be really good.
You could come to this point of like, is it constructive though? And I don't think that's a downside. It just might not be the most efficient way of proving or like communicating that understanding.
I guess it will never 100% replicate real life experiences. Like, for example, let's just say, for example, if you're in like a train station and people are hitting you, for example, if the people are bumping into you, you can't necessarily properly replicate how to manage your emotions if you've got sensory needs or high anxiety.
There are a lot of things that could be done that aren't a big deal. For instance, like just literal awareness and education, like of like the way people are. Be nice to us, understand, like don't like place your judgments because of the way you are. I think the biggest point is awareness and education. And like again, like destigmatizing is a very loose term, but I think only through that is how you would get to that point.
I think the UK population is like 50-20% neurodiverse, and it's growing. Growing, or people are becoming more aware that there are more neurodiverse people. What would society be like if we came together and made everything more accessible? I think interpersonal attitudes should change. There should be more kindness, acceptance, understanding, empathy. Whether this can be taught to certain people is debatable. If there's more education across cultures about what neurodiversity is, this would help. Reasonable adjustments in terms of employment, accessibility, as I answered in the previous question, entrances, toilets, public transport, that would make society much better. I'm a visual person, so I need visual cues as an autistic person, and I think more signs and symbols would be more helpful. More quiet, low-lit rest rooms or environments. I'm light sensitive, so and sound sensitive as well, actually, I realised. So that would be very helpful. And my last point is assistive technology. So, if there are more assistive technologies in helping people become diagnosed or post-diagnosis, I think this would be more beneficial in terms of a change in society.
But definitely just more flexible for everybody. I mean, it's kind of the way the world is increasingly being built, is just one size fits all, because it's the cheapest way to do everything, it's the most efficient, everything. But then you get situations where, like, even other disabilities, they're like, well, we've made all the train systems this way, and now we have to deal with people in wheelchairs. For like autistic people, it's like maybe in places where it is really busy, like a train station or a plane, like just like a quiet place for people to go. Like that's a pretty universal experience for all of us, is like having a freak out, go in the bathroom, because no one can reach you in there. You're literally locking yourself in, and so it feels very like, but also it's not like the nicest place to be, especially for an autistic person. It's the smells are strong.
True. I mean, my experience at least is, I don't think it's true that children have to adapt to the environment, and that the environment is really trying to adapt to them, which is the kind of neutral colours, the kind of creating those communication friendly spaces where the focus is on what's on the board rather than the kind of colour scheme and borders around it. And lots of people were talking about the lighting as well, so that we're not kind of, I think this kind of strip lighting you'll see if you were to walk around the school, that people are using lots of lamps and things in the classroom to kind of bring that kind of visual noise down.
I definitely think it should be more adaptive to the needs of SEN children. I definitely think we need to have a more inclusive society.
I think it's really unfair. We just expect that they follow this expectation. You've got to come in, you've got to have your coat off, you've got to make sure that you're sitting ready, waiting for this information to be thrown at you, and you might be just needing 5 minutes to just process what's going on. I think we live in an unfair society, how it is at the moment, and I think as more awareness of ASD and ADHD, and if they are aware, I think we should explore their superpower and just go, right, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses, and how do we work through that to navigate your future?
Yeah.
Because they deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve to just be treated like everyone else.
I do think awareness is increasing. It's definitely increasing. A lot more people are now getting ASD, ADHD diagnoses. But I think there could be more awareness, especially for people who aren't necessarily working or supporting ADHD or ASD students.
I guess just like maybe what you were saying about lighting and stuff like that, it's kind of like that in like when you go shopping and stuff like that. It's funny, me and my mum have we really don't like to be in like Lewisham shopping centre, for example, like for more than like 20 minutes, because it's just like aggressive, just something about it. So it's like sensory, not great. It's something to do with that would be good. But yeah, the same on like trains and all that. I just think it's a little bit of like I say, training just for understanding, really. I mean, I more sensitive to light. I quite often will if it had just been me in here, I would have left the light off, because I can see better with like that, and it's not so overwhelming. I get headaches walking around like in light like this. I'm like in the summer, like my sunglasses don't do enough. I need new ones. So yeah, that's definitely something. And at school, but I would just start to fall asleep because the light was so aggressive. It's like it forces you to close your eyes.
I think the best way you could support the neurodiverse community is representing the underprivileged who can't even get their diagnosis, who aren't like diagnosed as autistic, who don't have ADHD or autism because of the lack of means to get support. Like that is it.